This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
.30 on the dot. Welcome to a brand new week and a brand new day. It is Monday the 25th of October 2021 and this is Good Morning to You Uganda, and you're definitely watching your most preferred network across the entire nation, which is UBC. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, delighted to be with you for yet another week, but a lot transpired within the course of the weekend, both extremes, to the positive and also to the negative. To the positives, we had 80 elderly persons being taken to Ginger City for a tour so that they can see how beautiful the country is by a charity organization, something that is worth an upload. On the extreme negative, we had one person losing a life. You had 3 people injured severely because of the Komamboga blasts. In the world of sports, guess what? It was also challenging, especially when it comes to the Star Times Uganda Premier League. 2 games down the road and the champions for last season do not see any results positively for that matter. Equally on the international scene, Manchester United fans are shedding tears, getting heart attacks, swallowing medicines to be able to deal with the current pressure that they have. Hashtag Ole out, so they say. But anyway, all this is going to be part of our talking points here on Good Morning Uganda as we start off your day from 6:30 all the way to 9 a.m. But I'm here with the fantastic full team. Good morning to you, Robert Kirabo.
Good morning, Priscilla Naroga.
How are you?
I'm very fine, just a bit tired because I had a busy weekend. Yesterday was World Polio Day. And Uganda is aiming at ensuring that we vaccinate about 8.9 children under the age of 5. You know, polio is a viral disease that attacks the nervous system. That's why you see that some kids end up getting paralyzed. So we must ensure that children below the age of 5 get these drops. So we're carrying out community sensitization. And of course, there are so many questions. We had a team from Rotary International that was doing us very good. And moving around a village here and there,
yeah.
Some have funny questions, some annoying, but at the end of the day, we need those children safe. And let me begin by encouraging all parents with children under the age of 5. The campaign is on, the vaccination exercise is on. Ensure that you save that child's future by just getting those drops in the mouth.
All right, Ministry of Health on Friday did receive over 10 million doses of polio vaccines geared towards this very same campaign. And so the vaccines are there. Please take your child for vaccination. We also do have Molen Kenyana joining us this morning, and she definitely must have had, this statement is going to sound interesting, a blast over the weekend. Good morning to you, Molen Kenyana, and how are you?
Yes, very good morning to you, Priscilla. I'm doing well, and good morning to you, Uganda. It was a good weekend, and there are a lot of youth groups that are coming together as we're only a week away to COP26. Now, there was one, they are trying to express climate solutions through music and arts. And having been a part of that on Saturday, that was something really nice to see all these young people come together to actually do something and express their communicate the solutions of climate change through different media, looking at art especially and music. This is something that we have not tackled before, and to see their consistency was something really nice.
All right, thank you so much for that update. Felix Nkunda is also here, clad in a very interesting tie, ready to actually take you on with aggression for the day's arguments. Good morning to you, Felix Nkunda.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
Very well. How was your weekend?
My weekend was okay. I traveled a bit, but also I had myself glued to the TV, was enjoying some soccer, both locally and internationally. And clearly there's much that happened on the scene. And I was talking with Ruben Ari and Eddie Muesi about the mannerism that was exhibited at the game of Wachiso Giants and Vipers. If you saw what happened when one of the guys of Wachiso was red carded, how he wanted, they attacked the ref. I think that's the picture
and that's what's running on the screen right now.
So it was quite
disrespectful
and for me
unprofessional
in comparison to professional, because you're trying to have a professional league in Uganda, and that's how far it was. For me, a big challenge. It depicted a bigger challenge. Exactly. It was quite unsightly. But anyway, of course, also the story we talked about, Priscilla, about Komamboga was such a pain. We've been trying to get, it's been quite a time. Ugandans, we've been comfortable, but this threat comes with deep lynch for all our citizens, ahead of even us trying to see that we open up the entire country.
Okay.
It's a big fear.
All right, well, that's going to be part of our conversation this morning. We cannot run away from the realities that domestic violence and also terrorism could be on the rise within such a time as this, when we are fighting and grappling with COVID-19. But before we get into that discussion, allow us to take you through the course of the weekend and the stories that were actually eye-catching, conversational, rotating around different communities.
And we'll begin with the hope of reopening schools, where we saw the First Lady meet key stakeholders under her government to ensure that the country is really prepared when the time comes. That is the First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, Jent Museveni, met with accounting officers from local governments to strategize on curbing the high teacher attrition in public schools and arrangements for the reopening of schools. The First Lady met the local government officials, who included chief administrative officers, city and municipal clerks at Kolo Independence Grounds. The meeting was also attended by the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Robina Nabanja, Ministers of Finance, that included Matia Kasaija, Public Service, Muruli Mukasa, State Ministers in the Education and Sports Ministry, that included Dr. Jesse Muyingo, Joyce Mwiruku Kaduchi, and Dennis Hamson Oboa, plus Northern Uganda State Minister Grace Kichunyi, among others.
The Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology and National Guidance, in partnership with Postal Uganda, wants a reduction of congestion during service delivery. The State Minister for Information, Communication and Technology, Joyce Nabosa Sebugwao, says the ministry has already embarked on the campaign to expand internet services in various areas across the country. Registering and acquiring travel and identification documents will soon be easier than ever before as the ministry taps into online services. The State Minister for Information, Communication and Technology, Joyce Nabosa Sebugwao, also confirmed that application and issuance of national IDs, passports, birth certificates, driving permits, among others, will be an online activity. This was during the minister's visit and address to communities on radio stations in the areas of Mubende, Mitiana and Chiboga districts. The minister cautioned the youth against using online services like social media to abuse other leaders. Some of the political leaders in these districts of Greater Mubende reported to the minister some of the disturbing issues like poor turn-up at the vaccination drive.
Well, away from the tour and information, now head to Moroto district regarding teenage pregnancy, where there is an increase in teenagers getting pregnant in Karamoja sub-region, more so in Moroto as records are high. But how did the parents promote their children from getting pregnancy, and how was it done in the past in this particular region? Well, leaders want parents, religious and cultural institutions to actively take up their role. A number of girls in Karamoja sub-region give birth before the age of 18. This is because of high levels of poverty in the area, cultural practices like need of bride price in form of livestock by parents, alcoholism, trusting relatives, among others. A 15-year-old senior one student in Karamoja is a victim of trusting relatives with guardian tasks. The girl was lured into sex by her auntie's husband, leading to pregnancy. The father of the yet-to-be-born baby was arrested and wanted to bribe the mother to drop the charges. He is now serving his sentence at Moroto government prison. There are many girls who are in marriage due to negligency of parents and poverty. The Archbishop of Karamoja Diocese, Joseph Abura, and the Deputy Mayor, Moroto Municipality, Napach Mary, often give guidance on how parents used to raise children in Karamoja. Napach said previously virginity was rewarded with 100 cows, and a mother was also appreciated for keeping the girl safely. Abura and Napach blame parents for being taken up by work, a situation that exposes young ones into acquiring habits that lead them into immorality.
Difficult times we are living in, indeed. But away from that, the Minister for Lands and Housing and Urban Development, Judith Nalwoga, revealed that government is yet to enact a law to regulate the real estate and land brokers as wider reports continue pinning in fueling land wrangles. Nalwoga was responding to reports by land eviction victims in Mityana district who point out land brokers for aiding and siding with land grabbers. This piece of land located at Namakofu village in Mityana municipality is among the over 50 acres of land under contention. Although Awana Lukenge told Pista has for a long time fronted herself as the land caretaker working on behalf of the land administrators who have kept absence since 1970s, her powers of attorney have been challenged on several occasions by the grandchildren. At this meeting held at Namakofu village in Mityana municipality, the lands minister was brought to attention of land brokers as many partly hold them accountable for the land mess. Nalwoga also noted that government is also devising means of protecting the elderly and orphans who have become prey to land grabbers. For those who are facing eviction at this land ministry, Judith Nalwoga directed police to halt all unlawful activities, not until her ministry guides on the way forward. And that brings us to the wrap of local stories, and now on to our international stories.
In our first story, we'll be looking at COVID cases in Eastern Europe surpassed 20 million as outbreak also worsens. Now, the coronavirus cases in Eastern Europe have surpassed 20 million according to the router tally on Sunday. Now, as region grapple with its worst outbreak since the pandemic started and inoculation efforts are still lagging. Now, countries in the region have also the lowest vaccination rates in Europe, with less than half of the population having received a single dose of the vaccination. Hungary tops the region, vaccination rates within at least 62% of its population having received at least one shot. Now, whereas Ukraine has given just 19% of its residents a single dose, according to our World In data. Now, new infection in the region have steadily risen and now average at least over 83,000 new cases per day, and highest level since November last year. In the same way, we're looking at them trying to target to get to a 20% vaccination rate, where we will see these cases go down. Now, according to router analysis, 3 of the top 5 countries reporting the most deaths in the world are in Eastern Europe, that is Russia, Ukraine, and Romania. Now, still in international stories, a Colombian drug lord Otonel to be extracted to US. Now, Colombia has announced that the country's most wanted trafficker will be extradited to the U.S. after he was captured in a raid. Now, the Nario Antonio Usage, known as Otonel, was seized after a joint army operation with the Air Force and police operations that happened on Saturday. He led the country's largest criminal gang and has been on the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency most wanted list for years. Now, U.S. also had placed a $5 million cash prize on his head. They also accused him of importing at least 73 metric tons of cocaine into the country between 2003 and 2014. Well, now back to Africa. In international stories, we'll be looking at gunmen attacked Nigeria prison and frees dozens of inmates. Now, gunmen have attacked a prison in southwestern Nigeria, freeing dozens of inmates, according to an official. Now, Olangwereju Ajoni, a spokesperson of Oyo Correctional Center in Oyo State, told Association Press News Agency on Saturday that the gunman attacked the facility late on Friday night. Now, I can't ascertain the number of people who escaped that were recaptured, but I am telling you that the security has been beefed up around the custodial center and the town, he said, adding that an investigation had been opened, and Francis Onebero of Nigerian Prison Services also confirmed the incident and said he was on his way to the facility when he was attacked.
Now, more on the international scene. Years of foot dragging. Israel says climate change is a national security issue. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Naftali Bennett on Sunday declared the fight against climate change a national security priority and pledged to facilitate investments in green energy. Days before the COP26 Global Climate Summit in the British city Glasgow, which Bennett is due to attend, the Israel government announced the creation of working groups on climate change. The climate crisis is one of the major issues on the world agenda, Bennett said, calling it a new national security interest of Israel. It concerns the lives of all of us and also the lives of our children and grandchildren, he added. We are obligated to deal with it in Israel. It is at the core of our being. The Jewish state is one of the organizations for economic cooperation and development member states that invest least in public transport. But Bennett said the government has approved decisions promoting clean and low carbon transportation, energy efficiency, reducing emissions, encouraging technological innovations, and accelerating infrastructure.
All right, on a sad note, as of 17 minutes ago, we do have a report coming in from Barra Town of a building that is gutted with fire right now as we speak. A couple of cars have been burned and it's definitely a sad story. We do have Moses Kawaya who is giving us this update as of 17 minutes ago. That is exactly what is happening in real time in Barra Town. A sad story that is coming, but UBC will be giving you updates in this regard, and also according to the person there, we get to see that fire guts a building in Barra Town and some cars have reportedly been burnt. We wait on police to be able to give us an update in this regard, and also we pray for safety at the end of the day. It's still an early morning, not many people were on the road yet, but nevertheless that's a lot of fire in this particular place. Moses Kawaya has given us this update this morning on Twitter. Thank you so much, Moses Kawaya, for that Twitter information. Please keep this information coming. It's sometimes important to see exactly what is happening within your area code. And this is a vigilance that we want us to have within our communities, which is a conversation that we are going to be having later on. On our newsreel, we're going to be reflecting on the Komamboga blasts and how it could have been avoided, and what we must do as communities to actually be extra vigilant about what's going on in our communities. Of course, later on, we do have Robert Kirabo who's going to be hosting Good Morning Uganda agenda. What's the agenda this morning?
Well, today we are going to be focusing more on government's move for teachers in training institutions, that they're eliminating certificate and diploma level, but also now want to become a teacher will have to study for 4 years 1 year of practice before you're issued with a practicing license. And we expect that is the General Secretary of the Union that brings together teachers, Philbert Maguma, to be with us in studios.
Okay, all right. Molen Kenyana, we do definitely have been away for 2 days, and an update in terms of weather data, climate expectations.
Yes, we are still talking COP, and so far news coming in shows that African countries and also more of the developing countries are yet to receive financial grants looking at what they can do in terms of solutions to COP. But also 97% of Earth's land has been declared ecologically unintact. It's something that I want to look more into, and it's interesting to see how people are making reports and making this analysis on how intact the earth is.
Okay, all right. We do definitely want you to start your morning on a healthy note for that matter, Robert.
And it's all about hallelujah, jinga tea, hallelujah turmeric drinks that you need as you start your morning. What you cannot get at the same time and consume it. Hallelujah Reflexology have gotten that for you in this bottle at just 1,500. You're able to get ginger, you're able to get that is a lemon, you're able to get turmeric, all put together, and they'll greatly boost your immune system, because that is what we all need at such a time, building the strength of the body to fight diseases.
Okay, well, we do have a poll question for this morning equally. We want to find out from you in this regard.
And now our poll question is, how can communities increase vigilancy to avert terrorism? Now, this story springs from what did happen over the weekend, where we saw a number of people quite affected and some of them still nursing wounds in hospitals. Now, be able to also share your sense and your opinions on our Twitter handle, that is #UBCGMU, and WhatsApp 0709 60 25 95. Same on our Facebook, and also you can leave the same message on our YouTube channel.
Well, thank you so much. At exactly 51 minutes past 6 p.m. or 9 minutes to 7 o'clock, therefore, we want to listen to a song that should remind us of where is the love for one another to guard against such things that are happening within our communities daily. This is to remind you to love on one another, look out for each other, and let us be a brother's keeper. For now, we leave you with a song for the day, courtesy of Black Eyed P. When we return, we talk about Komamboga.
You could just buy a new smartphone from anywhere in Uganda. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate their 100% double data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles for 3 months. Better yet, you automatically receive free 1 GB valid for 30 days. You are hooked already, aren't you? Enjoy a 100% double data bonus from Airtel. Buy a smartphone from anywhere in Uganda and insert an Airtel SIM card. Dial *175 *94 hash to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Dial *175 hash and select your preferred bundle to activate a 100% data bonus offer on weekly or monthly bundles, valid for 3 months. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Exactly the dot of 7 a.m. Welcome to a new hour in this brand new day, Monday the 25th of October 2021. It's Good Morning Uganda, and we're definitely going to be having our newsreel in these 30 minutes. But before we go into our newsreel, of course, joining me in this 7 o'clock hour is Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkunda. We want to first recap to our poll question in case you have just tuned in to UBC right now, so that we can get your engagement and your opinion on the matters at hand.
Now, in our poll question, how can communities increase vigilancy to avert terrorism? Basically, and the same story is what we'll be discussing here. So we'd want to share with you, or to give you an opportunity to share with us what you think can be done for you people in communities. What can we do better for us to be able to get on top of the game when it comes to the issues of terrorism?
Indeed, the issue of terrorism is a talking subject on everyone's lips right now. 2 weeks ago, we had the government of UK issuing a terror alert within Uganda. And now, 14 days later, something actually terrorizing happens within our communities, in Komamboga most especially. A place that is called Kurib Spoke Joint is the place that was bombed Saturday night at about 10 p.m. Across social media platforms. News started circulating. Guys, check on your friends. If you have friends in Komamboga, this and that has happened. And what we know as of now is that the bomb was assembled out of local materials, e.g. nails, amongst other parts. And it was also past curfew time when this incident happened. The police is ascertaining that it was an intentional act of domestic terrorism, and a lady of 20 years of age named Emily died, and that was because she sustained 3 major terrible injuries. And also police is assessing to ascertain if this was laxity in its operations to enforce the government guidelines. And that is where we need to start picking it up from this conversation. If we had all been obedient to the rules of the land, we wouldn't be having this conversation this morning. Curfew time is at exactly 7 p.m. for anyone and everyone, whether you are in government, whether you're an official, whether you're an expatriate, whoever you are. The rules are for now under COVID-19. Everyone must be in their house at exactly 7 p.m. Where has security failed in this regard for us to be having this conversation on a Monday morning, Felix?
First and foremost, even before I go to security, I must say it is a very sad incident. And because of such kind of sadness, we want to pass condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones because of very, very selfish, very myopic, charlatanness, kind of quite backward as well, of individuals against others. And no wonder in your own statements, Priscilla, you chose the song Where Is the Love as a reflection of how cruel we have become and inhuman we have become to each other. It's sad. Getting the right words to comment about such an atrocity is even hard, because it doesn't make sense, and in my opinion, wouldn't make sense even to cast blame or apportion responsibility, because then two wrongs don't make a right. We know as a fact that we are in a very bad situation of COVID-19, and clearly the country has been hit left, right, center in different spheres, in terms of the economy, in terms of academics, even in terms of security. What we saw on Saturday was the evidence of so many things. One will say that, why were you out? Another would say, where was the police? Another would say, you know, this has been happening. Someone else would say, maybe the owners are what? Maybe there are a lot of maybes and all this. But for us to answer this question, we must not place blame, but we must also try and consolidate issues of security as a nation. We may talk about it as petty crime, but the preamble of Priscilla's statement highlighted a notion of that these were hovering threats all over, and it was a known. The government of UK was able to, I think, know or go ahead, I don't know how, but they knew something of this kind was coming, or probably still coming. But how did we react as a country? I think for us, that should be a major concern in terms of security or institutions. It's unfortunate that in the aftermath of such alerts, the institution of police came out to rubbish them. If you had, not really, but he came out to say, that's not, you know, let's not take that. They didn't take them serious, and this was on open air. I remember, I think Nalwoga came out to make statement, and he clearly, the evidence is before our eyes.
Restoring confidence in the public that there's no need to panic. We're on top of the game. We have the capacity to avert the likes of such threats. Yes.
Well, we look at this incident happening in a time where we're in a financial year where security is the biggest funded of the sectors currently in the country. You're having this incident happening in a time when the very same security is supposed to be on top of their game to ensure that they enact the presidential directive of the restrictions under COVID-19 as directed by the president. We are in this very same situation where you're saying that yes, the economy is grappling and people have been trying to find a way to thrive again, but the time frame in which this happened is not the time frame in which the economy is grappling. It is a time in which the economy is being boosted because of the kind of activity that was centered around where the bomb blast happened. So it's a bit contradictory to what you're trying to state.
Well, Priscilla, like Felix said, it's not good to apportion blame. But in every situation, for you, if you want to avert the likely of that, you have to dissect it and see where would we have gone wrong. In 2010, while we were watching the World Cup finals, terrorists hit Uganda, that is at Chadondo Rugby Club and Ethiopian village in Kansanga. Lives were lost, but later these were seen as international terrorists, the Al-Shabaab and all that. Now this time you're looking at, according to preliminary findings by police, these look to be domestic terrorists, like the like which was averted in Gulu during the eve of the burial of the Deputy Inspector General of Police. If you remember, a man who was arrested with materials that can assemble and cause in a hotel. That shows vigilancy. Now, how different is this incident? They were able to have information, intelligence-led, and averted a situation maybe similar to this or more dangerous. Come to this time around, for me, I want to take the bull by its horn. Corruption that we've tolerated in this country has led us this far. After that incident happened, I knew a number of my friends who are party animals. I tried to call them, and every spot where they were telling you police at Sazeko. Meaning, they knew these places, telling us we are running, we are here, police at Sazeke before. That was vigilance now after knowing what had happened. Today in this country, as we speak about this unfortunate incident, there are places that have made more money than they would have made entertainment places if the economy was fully open. These places, because they have been known that even in COVID times, for them they are operating.
They're running.
So party animals will rush to these places and they have made money, much more money. As others are locked, for them they are shriving and boosting more. But when you find out such places, you'll find that there is corruption somewhere. At the end of the day, they are giving money to somebody. At the end of the day, there is a phone call or
They're
something
giving money
like
to somebody to look the other way.
to look
while
the
they're
other
doing
way
the wrong.
while they are doing wrong. At 7, most of these trading centers, businesses are supposed to be locked. You're going to find these police force unit LDUs moving in these stores to allow these people who sell chips, chicken, everyone can be 1,000, and this person will tell you, what we So that is the challenge of corruption. First and foremost, we cannot underestimate this. Most of it happened at the time of curfew. These territorial commanders must be brought to book. How has this place been operating over this period of time? Unknown by people. If you want to eat pork, where tebakukwatako genda one. Komamboga. Then second, the issue of vigilancy. When you look at some of the clips and some of the information, you see that there was lack of public vigilance. Someone comes, puts something, then moves around, meandering around. How vigilant are we? After the 2010 bombing, even if you left a phone in the taxi, someone, pick what you're leaving. I remember we were moving somewhere, and I think a kid had bought these alarms that wake up children. And all of a sudden it went off. The taxi stopped and almost everyone ran for life. That was what we call vigilancy. Look at this place. Police will tell you they had no checking point. Then individual responsibility. I want to tell you how we were able to avert some of these terror threats. That people had become vigilant, and people would know it is not safe if there is no checking. But we've come to a time where it's a criminality, so you can't have deployment of police to ensure checking. And how responsible are you when you go to any place? Your security in any country, you're the first line of security. You as an individual, you're the first line of security.
Okay. All right. Looking at another presidential directive that was given, licenses of bars and these entertainment places that are illegally open should be revoked. So that we can curb this business of people doing things illegally when we are trying to fight COVID-19 in such times as this. What is your take in this regard and enforcement thereof of this particular directive, Felix?
Well, whenever you talk about the word illegality, it is an opposite of the word legal. Whenever you talk about the word legal, you must talk about enforcement. It is as good as useless if today, if Kirabo told me, Felix, if you don't come here in the morning, and the statement stops there, it is a useless statement. Kirabo must have the power to take action against me to make that statement useful. Now, we should not discuss illegalities away from the aspect of enforcement, and that's why government has the executive arm that has constituents like the prisons, the army, and the police later on. And if there be any discussion about the word legalese in any civil state, you cannot miss the statement of enforcement. And let's be honest to ourselves. Every state there be, you cannot have compliance of citizens even to 30%. It is not recorded, and you can read and find out. You can even research. A state or a country where you have national compliance to the laws at 30% should be the best state in the world. Remind
me when COVID-19 had just hit around March, April last year, when Italy went into complete lockdown, to the extent that police was put on the roads to make sure that people stay in the houses by gun.
You can imagine now, and we're talking about countries that are quite advanced in everything. Now, even if in times of curfew, when there was a killer running around the streets, people still had to sneak. You know, you would have people arrested. What I'm saying is these people could have done wrong to be in this place. But you see, every institution has responsibility in keeping this sanity in this country. But when you are apportioning blame or responsibilities, some responsibility is higher than the other. The responsibility of security institutions in this country is far higher than the people in terms of compliance. Because one, there are many reasons that will make me and you open up a bar when it's not even supposed to be open, or probably go to a bar when it's not. But there are so little reasons, or even if in there,
as to why that should
police,
be accepted.
yes, why shouldn't enforcement be done? And probably there's only one reason: corruption. But a woman will tell you, my son was, they have opened the schools, which I saw these young girls trying to give testimony. They are waitresses. They are waitresses. They are simply crying. Now and then they talk to Nguru as taking. Really and truly, even if you want to blame them for working in what time, they have all reasons to be out there trying to find a life. Painfully or illegally.
Differ. They don't have no reason, because
they do.
As individuals,
it doesn't matter.
The orders of the land.
It doesn't matter.
Let me tell you, Felix, it does.
Let me say, just a moment. Let me say this, and you see the problem we have in the country. We try to hide ourselves away from the facts. Between you and me, Robert has told you here, we have bars that are working, even on that night that worked till morning, even on Sunday, even today that will work.
You see,
what am I saying?
What's the difference between this conversation and the conversation of you having a teenager in your house pregnant? But because you are not vigilant as the parent or as the head of the house, you are negligent of what they were doing, their activities, and then people even try to tell you that and you did nothing about it, and then you're going to blame other people. We're going to blame the government. We're going to blame police. We're going to blame security agencies.
I don't know.
No, that's
Priscilla, what you're
fair.
trying to say is that it's okay for people to die as long as they're doing wrong.
No,
it's fine. Should we celebrate death now?
No, let's not lose focus on this. I think when Felix, you said that they have all reason to be there. His Excellency on several occasions has said, and I once said on this very show, that it could take you maybe a month or 3 when your store is locked. It hurts. It is your source of earning. But it could take you longer if you're going to spend in ICU of COVID because you're suffering from COVID-19 and you don't know the fate. So when we talk about, I don't want us to condone illegality in a way like saying we have a danger, we have an enemy with us at this time. And we know many people, when fate comes, there are people who are working in bars, but now they're not working in these bars. So any element of illegality, now look, okay, they have nothing to do. Someone is in a casket today or someone has been buried. So these are some of the issues. But what you ask the presidential directive, I want to clearly state there are many directives His Excellency has given. But one, conflict of interest. Most of these hang out the bars they're talking about revoking their licenses. If we are to carry out an investigative story, the people, the names, I want to use the words of Catherine Bamgemedeire, just when she said, you want to find out the name, the names behind the name. Conflict of interest. You find that a person supposed to execute this has 3-4 bars. Second, element of corruption. Who are you going to get and knows you're going to revoke their license, and they are going to just fold their hands and say, revoke? The people, the investigating arm of this country is wanting. They're having low pay, they lack exposure, there's rank and file. We've seen incidents where someone comes to enforce something and just one phone call, they depart. So these directives by His Excellency, unless we see the will and determination and sacrifice, many of them live never to see the light of day.
But Robert, let me just also ask something. You see, we are focusing on curfew, how people were wrong and what. Who's talking about the failure of investigations to happen even after alerts have been given? No one is willing to discuss that hard topic as well. In as much as people were in time of curfew, this what. That's wrong, fine, that's a given, it's a matter of fact, and there's no debate about that. But how about what should have been done that actually wasn't done?
That's why I told you earlier that that's territorial commanders of these places.
Because
right now,
you see, it would have been different if it was not in the domain of our knowledge.
It's a sad story that you have to talk about the territorial commander right now instead of right then. This is supposed to be their daily duty. That's why they're territorial, to command the territory, to be able to abide by the simple basics of life that we're living in right now. No one should be above the law. But now you see, because others have been allowed to live above the law, it's costing Ugandans loved ones. It's costing Ugandans blood, which is now in our hands. And also what Felix is saying is quite important, that who is having the discussion of you're having security agencies being given a warning, a terror alert, but no one is actually having dialogue. Maybe they're actually having dialogue about it, but of course, because it's security and intelligence related, it's not going to be public conversation. It's not going to be public dialogue. We also have to put that into, understanding when you're dealing with security matters. Secrecy is very key in actually arriving to one of the things. But then the fact that this has happened surely has opened up our eyes to the reality of some of these alerts that have been coming in. But away from that, how do we draw back our communities? And it's the poll question that we're asking ourselves this morning. How do we avert from these things happening to another community in such a time as this? How can communities increase vigilancy to avert terrorism? And I would like to hear from you, gentlemen. How can this be dealt with? I'll start with you, Robert.
Well, first, when you talk about how communities can increase vigilancy, is sensitization. Sensitization. Because when you give them information that, hey, we have an enemy right now, you could have forgotten about 2010, what happened, and of course sometimes down the memory line you could have forgotten. But present with us is this enemy. So that will cause action. Then we've had communities come up with laws. We've had local councils come up with laws. And these among them has always been registering people in their communities, knowing who is who. Recently also police, I think, and the minister, so she talked about this when you had the massacre killings. But it was mere talk, where they said LCs are mandated, security is mandated to know who is staying where. That is one of the ways, because how terrorism survives, the biggest weapon to fight terrorism is the eye, what you see, and if you're vigilant, so you can really alert. Then also improve that is relationship with security agencies, that a person can easily notify any concerned officer of a suspicious element, suspicious character in community. Like when we hear some of the stories, I was watching the clips, some of these waitress saying, if there is proper connection, we can ensure that such elements are detected before even they can accomplish their missions. Like just what I told about the suspected terrorist. I think that guy was being put out of action recently in a police operation as they were trying to nab him. So these are some of the things. Give them information, know who is your neighbor, okay. Report very fast to concerned authorities where you suspect such a character could be harmful to the community. All right.
Felix, security starts with self, then on to my neighbor. Of course, we do have governance, local governance within the community. The LC Council that has a security team. LDUs have been deployed in different area codes. And all these are supposed to man and manage security to be able to have peace. Let's look at the role that is being played by those particular forces on ground, on actual ground, daily, morning into evening, in ensuring that there's security in our communities.
Well, terrorism in particular is quite sophisticated, and you may not have all security institutions or even individuals understand the different folds of terrorism, or even be trained to avert terrorism, because of its sophistication, you realize that it manifests in very, very various ways. Like in this particular case, who could have how many people are stopped on the road to check what they are carrying in a Avert?
That some places before you enter them, you're checked, and it shows here it was a free entry, free exit. So if there was vigilancy, cameras, checking.
I'm talking about the road. Like if you meet people, like police, how many times have you been stopped just holding a Avert? I'm trying to bring out the aspect of sophistication, because one, and secondly, these are planned. Someone takes time to plan some of these attacks. They're not like it's a one-off, someone then I punched him, then what? These are planned. So they have probably, the person has visited the place more than 5 times to know how he will do it, where he can put it, where people sit most, where. That's the thing. So it's a pattern of events. In my opinion, we have put our guard down in terms of security, probably because of the evidence of security or peace in the country. But we have different roles to play. The community has a role. The institutions of the coercive institutions have a role. And of course, later on, our leadership as a country. I think we just have to play our roles. For example, you talk about security, and Robert was talking about the command of the area. What was the pattern of command? Okay, you're saying
the pattern,
and what's more, being in times of the pandemic. Fine, if you've let the bars open, have you provided the security in terms of? But if you let them open and then you go back home to also sleep, look what happened. So basically, I think we just have to try and fit into the space where everyone must carry out their role. Government has a bigger role as the overseer of this country. Some of the causes as to why people, by the way, abuse some of these SOPs, let me say, is because of the failure of government also come out clearly in terms of what it can do for people in terms of pandemic. You remember, between you and me, that let's say, let's waitresses and waiters, 2 years, what have they gotten? So some of these absence of plans to assist these particular groups have led them to irregularities or probably unlawfulness. And let me say this lastly. You cannot disseminate the state from what we call godfathers, as Robert was calling them earlier. And that's one of the biggest crippling aspects of this country. For the time we shall simply say, this is for Kirabo, don't touch. Yeah. This is for Priscilla, don't touch. The repercussions are what we see today. And it is just the beginning. Like country where we have people who seem to own portions, say this, so I think for me that's a problem. And the evidence is what we see before us.
Well, we do have some respondents here to our poll question, which we want to look at briefly. The first person who sent us a message said, the biggest burden always rests with communities. So I ask them to be vigilant, and which is very, very true. We're the ones who actually can relay the story. Like, no, I saw, then these people came in, da, 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 da. Good morning, Felix, Priscilla, Robert, and Molen. I think those who can afford private cameras, let them buy them, place them to their houses and connect them to their phones. In case of any strange situation, the phone makes an alarm and they can call each other. Secondly, community policing is also necessary. Unlike the old days, nowadays people only care about their families, and some can suspect danger to the neighborhood and they just ignore it. Indeed, where is the love? So many question marks. Cricket Gagamel in Machinde. And then we do have Kayinde Raymond, who's also coming out to respond to our poll question this morning, saying the Security Council is committed to keeping peace with the changing landscape through the clear-eyed recognition that the terrorist threats were faced earlier, of which nearly terror case till now, the same we face today. The threats of tomorrow will always undoubtedly pose a new challenge, and we must remain flexible and also alert to be able to meet them. #SafeUG. Well, those are some of your reactions. At the end of the day, even if we speak about it from a national perspective, security, you are the first responsibility of security. How you take care of yourself, how vigilant you are around your area code, your community, is what's going to make the difference for other people, so that we don't have to lose lives in such terror attacks. And may this be the first and also the last. For now, we continue with Good Morning Uganda. We get to look at what is making black and white in the papers this morning. Later on, traffic update in this very same hour, and Molen Kenyana will be closing it with weather, nature and climate.